Hi guys, it's April and I got some books I want to talk about. It's the middle of December, so that means mid-month wrap-up. And I have like a lot of books that I want to talk to you about again this time around. I don't know where that sentence was leading. I was just kind of going with it. It kind of just... But this month, beginning of this month, I read a good handful of books. I haven't counted. We're just gonna go with the flow, but a lot of them this time around are non-fiction books. I got on this non-fiction marathon, I guess. So about half, or if not more, of these books will be non-fiction. I think I was just missing the learning in my brain. So I made up for that. To start out with, I read Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling with Greco-Roman mythology thrown into the mix. It was absolutely amazing. I enjoyed it so much. It is the story of a girl named Nyx. I don't even know it. From birth, she's known that she is to marry this evil dude, Injux. Once again, names, lots of syllables. She's to marry him because of a deal her father made. So, because of this, her father has raised her to, when she goes off to marry, it is her task to kill this evil ruler who, for whatever reason, seems to have enslaved this whole kingdom. In the process of all this, she starts to learn certain information and certain details and starts to put everything together to learn what is really going on. And it was done in such a wonderful way. And like I said, it had that Greco-Roman mythology thrown in that I fell in love with the writing and the story. And I really, really, really want to get more of this world and just this author. She's amazing. I liked it. Next, I read Neil Patrick Harrison's Choose Your Own biography. This was a trip. I really enjoy Neil Patrick Harrison's work. He's amazing and he's nice to look at, so those two things together, it just works. So to learn more about his life and how he got to where he was at was a fun experience, especially since it was in the choose your own adventure style, and it was fun. Enough said. I picked up One Click by Richard L. Brandt. This is the story about how Amazon became Amazon and how they've patented the one-click checkout process, and in that made the rest of the e-commerce a pain in the butt for user experience because nobody else can recreate that. It was interesting to learn how Amazon started out selling books. That is what Amazon was, and it still seems to remain a base for lots of Amazon's business, even though it's branched out and become this huge, great big empire. It was nice to see how some of that works, especially since I myself just created an e-commerce system, and to see how his thought process worked while creating all of the methodology that would become Amazon, it was a nice little information session for my brain. I then stumbled across Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. This is the first Gillian Flynn book that I've ever picked up. The premise of this book is this woman who is pretending to be a psychic goes and investigates a house that may or may not be experiencing a haunting. It is a short little book. It's like 60 pages. I wanted to check out Gillian Flynn's writing to see what it was all about, and of course you get haunting and ghost possibility in any story, I'm gonna pick it up. I wasn't that thrilled with this book, mainly because it was very predictable for me and wasn't exactly what I wanted when I picked it up, but overall it was an okay read. I then read Caesar's Way by Caesar Million. He is the dog whisperer in my mind. He has made a living by rehabilitating dogs and not necessarily training dogs, but training people how to be with dogs. And I like some of his methodologies and his thought processes, and being with dogs a lot in my volunteer work and my photography, I found it interesting, and I've been trying to apply some of his techniques to get the dogs to trust me and see me as a authoritative figure, because I work with some pretty big dogs. It is amazing, but they're still pretty big dogs. I read Freakonomics maybe a month or two ago because it's been sitting on my shelf, and I'd gone to a seminar with them in college and gotten the book signed, and then I realized that they had a second book out that expanded out some more little random fact connections through economics. So I just picked up Superfreakonomics, and it was great fun learning about prostitution and other such things. It is an interesting read, and it's some things to think about how society works. I then read TikTok, You're Dead by R.L. Stine. This is one of his Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps books. It's been a while since I've read these, and the nostalgia as I was going through this book was amazing. I was a little underwhelmed with the conclusion that I seem to have chosen, but overall it was great to read. The premise of this book is you stumble into a museum with a exhibit on time, and then there's a time machine involved, and things just get out of hand, as they do in Goosebumps. I then picked up 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights. This is a book about jinn. It's based on the 1001 number process of the Arabian Nights, and it reads like a history book. It also has a bit of the feel that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has. It's that little whimsical writing style with not as much humor as Hitchhiker's Guide does. I didn't really expect what I got. It was interesting to see number connections and people connections and all these like oddities and things like that. It was a nice read, but I don't think in the end it was something for me. I then read Sixgun Snow White by Catherine N. Valentine. Something around there. This is Snow White if she was set in the Wild West with mixed blood, both Native American and white man. It was gritty, it was dark, and it was just what I needed right when I needed it. It doesn't end quite in the way you expect it. This isn't a love story, this is a survival story. It was a great little twist on Snow White, and there was just so much enjoyment there. So much enjoyment. I then read Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua Furr. This is Joshua's journey through a year of improving his memory to compete in the National Memory Competition. He did an article on one of these memory competitions, and that got him thinking about how memory works and how we can possibly remember things, and making all of those connections, and then seeing if he himself could become one of these elite memory athletes in these competitions. He did go on to win the national level for the memory competition after only a year, but the thing about this is a lot of the memory techniques are basically just remembering lists of things and not necessarily recalling memory. And that's kind of what I was hoping for, instead of just huge list of unuseful information. Because let's be honest, we live in a society where we have pen, paper, or electronical devices that can do that for us. That's bad. But I would love to be able to like dig back in my memory and remember events. That would be cool. Someone should figure that one out. I then did a reread of Stormfront by Jim Butcher. I want to go back and read all of the Dresden Files. I started them in college. I got maybe 4 books in, and then just have never had a chance to pick up the rest of the series. Now, the Dresden Files series is about a wizard named Harry Dresden who has this, I guess you can call it investigative services, and gets involved in all kinds of crime shenanigans and otherworldly events, and things go wrong, and it's great fun. It was nice to go back into that world and remember how all of that goes down, and I'm just gonna keep on reading until I reach the current point in which the series is. And then I'm gonna be like all the rest of us suckers, waiting for the next book to come out. I got my hands on Hunter by Mercedes Lackey. I didn't even know this book was coming out until Goodreads was like throwing it in my face. And then I learned what it was about and I got excited. This is a YA futuristic, slightly dystopic fantasy novel. You can throw everything all into that description. The premise is that at some point there was this huge disaster in which mythological creatures came into our realm and started taking over. Society as a whole had no idea how to cope with this. We are now regulated to certain cities to try and keep these very dark creatures from killing us all off. In the process of these creatures becoming the norm, there came these hunters who can call up hounds from the other realm to help them hunt down these creatures and kill them. You become a hunter one day just randomly when the power strikes you, and you have these symbols on your hands that symbolize each of your hounds, and you just have this bond with these hounds. In the society, these hunters have become like rock stars. They are filmed 24/7. Joy is called into one of these major cities to become one of these all-star hunters. She's not entirely sure why. Her uncle is one of the high-up politicians, and he is the one who called her in. She starts to realize that there's some political moving going on with these hunters in the society, and things just aren't what they seem. I loved seeing all the different mythical creatures in this book. It takes it from every known mythology, every known religion, and throws them all in here. I don't know how to sum it up more than that. It's dark, and I liked it. I then read Eloquent in Espionage. This is the first of her books that I have ever read. I just dove in. I don't even know if this is the right starting point, but I started here anyways. I enjoyed it. So what it's about is a girls' boarding school in which you learn to finish. Finish is kind of open-ended. Finish people, finish things, finish stuff, just finish. These girls are learning how to be assassins and spies and everything else in between. They are the ones who are going to pull the strings in society. It isn't written in such a style that I couldn't help but giggle most of the way through. It kept me so entertained, and I can't wait to see what this rest of the series brings because it's wonderful. And now that the heater has turned on, I will wrap this video up. Those were the 13 books that I read the first part of this month. I am 10 books away from 200 for the year. I think this could happen. I set my Goodreads goal for 52, mainly because I had no idea which reading speed I actually had, because this is the first year I'm keeping track. But I think I can do 10 more books. I'm pretty sure I can do 10 more books. I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.